What up? It's Antar Davidson, and you're watching Soul Club.
Alright, what's up, everybody? My name is Z, and we back again for Soul Club episode 3. I'm here with my co-host and cohort, as usual, Liquid.
Yo, what up?
And we here for, like I said, episode 3 of the Soul Club. Part podcast, part interview, but mostly a cool show about people talking about big things. Today's guest is going to be Antar Davidson. You might recognize him from a video that we put out last year. Very politically charged music video that we put out last year through Soul Productions. Or you might recognize him from the recent interviews he's been doing on CNN, Comedy Central, MSNBC, and quite a few others. I can't even list them all. Basically for speaking out against child trafficking, domestic centers,
Child detention
centers. Essentially, I'm gonna have him explain that because obviously I don't really know what I'm talking about with that stuff. So, but anyways, before we get into all that, I think we'll let him introduce himself. Oh, we here with Chachi, of course. What's up, Chachi?
What's going on?
So, Antar, you want to introduce yourself for the people real quick?
What's good? Antar Davidson. I'm originally from the Bay Area. Lived in Tucson 3 years now this time around. So actually a total of 6 years. And happy to be sharing my story with you guys and kicking it.
We appreciate you being.
Hell yeah.
So Studios always got some positive vibes. So we got another video even in the works too.
Yes.
So please believe you over here working.
Yeah, that's gonna drop hopefully this month.
I was out here before I was on the news though.
That's right. Repping the Soul
Started
Studios
here
from day one. But yeah, so we're gonna get into all of that stuff, but before we get too deep into the questions and all that stuff, we want to just play the video that we did last year with him, just to kind of give you guys a little scoop. And so yeah, we're going to get into that right now, and we'll be right back.
So,
check that.
Cool.
Mr. President, I affirm to you that we are raising our
when did you
youth,
drop
our
this?
children, our grandchildren.
Last September.
on
No,
cultural
okay. So, coming up on a year now.
Heavy, bro.
How many?
Facebook 10,000.
He said, he ain't know it. It ain't nothing.
It's cool to me.
أعدائنا هم أهم شيء لازم يسوي فيهم عملية. إيش أكيد هدول العمليات رح ترفع الراس لفلسطين.
يعني انهم بيعلمونا بالمدرسه انهم ارهابيين
بيحكوا لنا هدول غدارين. أنا أقرأ اليهود. إذا بدك بطلع بسترشد عادي.
احنا ضد السلام مع اسرائيل لان
واو.
اسرائيل كلاب.
إذا بطعن. إن شاء الله يصير مقاومة في المستقبل مع الدولة الإسلامية.
Yes, this is a 3-part
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
presentation on the Palestinian Authority, backed by the beats of Sockets fee. Yeah. Item 1 on the chart, the PLO and
some
fought to
weight
have
there?
been Nazis from the start.
Did
Since
you
the
do
Grand Mufti Amin al-Husseini, the movement is stated plainly. Read the bigger picture. The father of the PA worked with and worshipped Hitler. And he mentored Arafat, who brought terrorist stats to their highest, implementing murder tactics in the hopes they could divide us. Civilians in caskets, while dreams of bombs spread through the schools like a virus. Look me in my iris, tell me Mahmoud Abbas is a moderate. Since 1961, he was a founder and a part of it. Fought just the expression of this legacy, rooted in Islamic Nazism fundamentally. Rooted in Islamic Nazism fundamentally. Yeah, hey, hey, hey.
I love this part.
Yeah, we all want peace, but you gotta be a partner. Can't coexist when they're trying to be martyrs. Let's be smarter and peep the lesson. The PA is behind Palestinian oppression. We all want peace, but you gotta be a partner. Can't coexist when they're trying to be martyrs. Let's be smarter and peep the lesson. The PA is behind Palestinian oppression.
Item 2 here, let's address corruption.
Yeah, I've been working on that forever.
And if the people still starve, then it looks to me they're profiting from suffering. They pocket foreign aid and they leave the streets with nothing. Can't blame that on oppression. The government in Ramallah use their people as a weapon. Hidden underground or abroad, bringing checks in, cashing in on the wretched, committing murder like the Chechens. Bring the bets in on whether those not in Fata are getting paid. Remember, Yasser Arafat brought billions to his grave. It's the cycles that they made that keeps the people slaves. Yeah.
I like
It's
how
the
the
cycles that they made that keeps the people slaves.
It's hard to follow without it, honestly.
Getting a lot of information.
Yeah.
We all want peace, but you gotta be a partner. Can't coexist when they're trying to be martyrs. Let's be smarter and beat the lesson. We all want peace, but you gotta be a partner. Can't coexist when they're trying to be martyrs. Let's be smarter and beat the lesson.
Have to. I didn't know you was from the Bay, bro.
Yeah.
Like where? Oh, okay.
Women and other children.
You know about Richmond?
When you teach kids to hate,
659 South 22nd Street, bro. Richmond.
Why war for
Yeah, I always wanna go.
generations with what is all it takes to build a nation. Can't build your people up when your focus is extermination, which is what they teach in the schools and names pills, computer labs and swimming pools. After death dealers to the innocent can't negotiate for peace when they were born into this an infinite cycle of attack
Yeah, we put the whole link in the description, so
where one side profits while the other side murders. We then get to profit by perpetuating murder.
That was pretty cool right there. With the money signs.
Yeah, that Ivan hits some dumb shit with that.
Yeah, I've been working his ass off for that shit.
He worked hard, dude.
I'm about to shout him out right now, too.
Shout out to Ivan.
Shout out. Do it on all the cameras, though. Cool.
There's no doubt inside U.S. intelligence that the Palestinian Authority is involved in
There was
terrorism.
an interview with Faisal Husseini where he said explicitly that the Oslo Accords are a Trojan horse to get inside
That's
Israel
Hitler?
to continue the battle. He said no.
Who's that?
One is Hitler and one is the founder of the Palestinian Authority, Al-Hajj Amin al-Husseini.
Word. That's who
Basically
mentioned it in the
Hitler's
verse.
ally in the Middle East.
That's crazy, bro.
Is the spiritual leader of the Hamas terrorist organization. The records reveal that for years, the PA has been supplying terror groups with funds, resources, and arms to carry out their attacks. The PA neither banned the terror organizations, declaring them illegal, nor did they confiscate their weapons.
Do you think that you are going to live to see a peaceful Palestinian state next to Israel?
This is what I am hoping. To live together beside the Israelis.
Oslo, the PA controlled or influenced all Palestinian TV, radio, and
I had to
newspapers.
force them to watch this, bro. People will forget these facts, bro. This is what people are really talking about. It's peaceful, man.
Yeah. It's pretty explicit. I don't really know that much about all of this stuff, but that seems pretty contradictory to what he just said a second ago.
If you like that, that was it.
One thing I always say, and I'll keep saying it, history repeats itself all the time.
Alright, everybody, we back. We just watched Antar Davidson's Re-Peace music video with Soul Productions. Huge shout out to Ivan RG for doing a great job on that video.
It's regarding peace.
Regarding peace. Oh, regarding peace.
You like already like subject line?
Yeah. So why don't we just talk about that video just a little bit, because I feel like we can't just skim past all the stuff that was just said right now.
Sure.
What was your motivation behind that video? Like what motivated that?
Sure. Well, basically, I just wanted to kind of reframe the issue, which is pretty much a common theme in my political messages, is basically people let their emotions cloud their judgment when it comes to things, and instead of looking at systemic issues, they go for emotional issues. So unfortunately, the Israel-Palestine conflict, which is an extremely complicated yet also extremely simple situation. People are often manipulated, and I wanted to show, as a person who's both Jewish and also has 4 Palestinian siblings, I wanted to show that Israel is not doing half the problems to the Palestinian people that their own government is, in this case the Palestinian Authority. So I just wanted people to know, like, the history of the Palestinian Authority, where they came from, you know, that they, and kind of their original goals, and basically who they really are. People don't really take the time to do things like read their charter, which calls for all kinds of things, or
right.
People just kind of follow the news and blah blah blah, blame it on the Jews. And,
yeah, unfortunately, that's getting more common these days.
Unfortunately, not on my watch though. We speaking out.
There you go. Well, that kind of like brings me into like my next question, man, which is sort of like, what led to all of this? Like, what made you want to rap about this stuff, talk about this stuff, be involved in policy and these types of things? Like, where did this all come from? Was this something you knew you wanted to do, like, as a child? Or
yeah, dude, yeah, bro, yeah, yes, and yes. Like, my whole life has pretty much been on that. Like, I'm from the Bay Area. I'm originally from, I was born in San Francisco. My family is from Stanford. So, I mean, my grandfather was protesting in the 60s, and my mom was protesting in the 80s, and when I was born, she was like a reggae promoter, you know, and then now she's an investigative journalist with the San Francisco Chronicle. So
that's tight.
I always grew up, and my father, my biological father, whom I didn't know very well, but who left me with quite a few siblings. I got like 18 brothers and sisters, and slowly getting to know 4 of them Palestinian.
Yeah,
Same father,
I mentioned that. I didn't know
Palestinian
that. That's
mother.
Pretty significant considering your message.
So I have, I'm thinking about them too. That's the point.
Yeah.
I'm not. People say, oh, whatever. They
like, so it's not like you're anti-Palestinian or anything like that. Obviously,
anti-corruption.
Right.
I don't think people who receive as much as the Palestinian Authority does in foreign aid should claim how poor they are every year and how starving the people are every year when they're getting so much money. Where does it go? Where are they starting a war they can't? Why would you start a war with Israel when your people are starving? They need money. They need that money for people. Don't need guns.
Straight up, kind of reminds me of like the North Korea
children
situation.
Can't,
a little bit, like,
you know what I mean? They can't derive nutritional value from bullets and
for sure
retaliations that are incurred by when you launch attacks on countries.
For sure.
So yeah, that's kind of. I mean, it's been like all the stuff I've ever done is like nothing new. You know what I mean? Thank God. Like people that have known me, it's been like people that have known me throughout my life. It's always been like, I can tell even the closest people to me, even my mom, have always like had in their head like Antar is really smart, but he also might low-key be insane. So people just kind of waffle in their head like, I've always been talking crazy. You don't just all of a sudden one day you start talking crazy. I've always been talking crazy.
You don't wake up crazy.
Yes. I've been talking crazy all my life, all over the world, bro. Like I already been around the world before this shit happened. And you know what I mean? This was this particular I had worked in Detroit. I was built recording studio on top of Mount Zion in Israel, next to the tomb of King David.
That's crazy.
I was with Jay Dilla's mom, brought Clarence Jones, Martin Luther King's lawyer and speechwriter, writer of the I Have a Dream speech, brought him out, talk about the power of hip hop and politics. So I was a week before the Southwest Key thing broke. I was rapping on stage with KRS-One, dude. I told him about doing backflips. I do capoeira, dude. Shout out Floor Lord's crew, dude. Shout out to Floor Lord's crew, dude. I was up there breaking and doing capoeira, and he was like, "Oh my God, this guy's the man." And then I was like, "Yo," and I told him about the studio. I had read his book, The Gospel of Hip Hop. And then I ended up I just ended up touring all over the country, it was in New York and Reno, LA, Detroit, Ohio, met Mac Miller, Chip the Ripper, You know what I mean? 1B Low, do all a bunch of Detroit rappers, Fat Ray, record it out there. It was crazy. I recorded a song in Eminem's studio, but all for me. Yeah, dude,
That's crazy.
It was crazy. So then, then I just was like, yeah, dude, it's always been like, so that's why I've always been on some crazy projects, and everyone, including myself at times, like, low-key, like, damn, am I just insane talking like this? Like man, Antar has... So people are kind of, like, waffling back and forth, but, man, I had a plan for this Southwest Key thing. I planned it from the time I looked for the job and found it, and throughout the whole process, like, I knew that, politics is my thing. I returned to Tucson to finish my degree, here's where I started. And that's in political science. I still got one more class, math class. If you're watching, I'm really good at politics. Please, come on. So I came out here, so I was like, all right, tight. I'm about to work Tucson. I love Tucson, bro. I chose to come here before, you know what I mean, as an 18-year-old, and I really had a good. It really struck me just how cool this place is and how it's like a place that you can come and just get your shit going, you know what I mean? Get things moving here, because it's not so expensive. In California, you can't even think, bro. You can't even think because your rent is $4,000.
Straight up,
bro.
Can't leave.
And the heroin junkies that live outside just won't leave you alone, bro. They're out there passing out. It's like you're stepping on needles and stuff living in San Francisco. And so it's like, y'all like, yo, forget that. It's either that or you live in like a hacker space, which is like 18 bunk beds, like in a one bedroom. Forget about that, dude. So here's like, man, you just zip zap zop, your rent's paid. It's not crazy out here, like. Yeah. So that's where you can really. Man, Tucson allowed me to really have the peace of mind and the mental space to expand. And so for the Southwest Key thing, I did my thing, political science. I walked. I had a whole ceremony. They just don't have the diploma yet because of the math class. But so I was like, man, Tucson is hot right now politically, specifically because of all the immigration stuff. Arizona's like the final frontier in terms of border security. California built its border infrastructure up because it has money. Texas built its border infrastructure up because it has money. And so all of the traffic, both legal and mostly illegal, has bottlenecked into Arizona and New Mexico because they don't have their, much less wealthy states, so they don't have the resources to build up their border, so it's a less watched border. So for that reason and others, there was the healthcare thing, but Tucson just keeps popping up in the news as like just kind of a flashpoint of political activity. So I figured, all right, well, I'm out here, like, I saw this job and I was like, all right, bet, like, this will be the perfect opportunity to have like on the ground knowledge about this is what you want to know what's on the border. I do. I was with the kids. You know what I mean? I was with kids that were being pulled out the border.
So while we're on that subject, because I feel like this naturally kind of just broke into like the meat of like what has been going on in your life lately. So just to sort of summarize, I feel like what you're basically telling me is you basically had been involved in political activities like your whole life and through your whole family, and it naturally just kind of led you back to Tucson, ironically. Yeah. Which is kind of awesome. Because I relate to that super heavy. Like, we were actually talking about going to California and San Francisco and LA, doing the whole rapper thing, and we decided that, like, to focus on Tucson. There's actually a lot of culture here, a lot of things happening. It's just, you said, it's a frontier for a lot of things. Yeah. Border related.
Dude, we brought Melania Trump came out here, dude.
Straight up. So
speaking out.
So all that being said, I feel like people are gonna kind of be wondering, like, what job are you even talking about? Like what job did you get? What is this all? What are we talking about here?
Sure. So my official position was a youth care worker at Southwest Key Programs. Okay. Southwest Key was a facility for unaccompanied minors. Unaccompanied minors refers to a specific set of kids who were coming from mostly about 93 to 95% from Guatemala. Indigenous kids from many different tribes, indigenous tribes, So they had parents or close relatives who lived in places in the United States. And in 2014, they established a route that if they show up and they present themselves, that they would be reunified with their parents. They'd be sent to their parents. So that system existed for a good 4 years until now. And then, so basically, I had jumped on in the end of February, and then in when I left in June 12th, in the last six weeks prior to my departure, the government enacted what was called the zero tolerance policy, and that began the family separations, which were the focal point of this crisis. So when that happened, let me just back up a step. So Southwest Key, it should be known, began in 2014 with $24 million in funding from the federal government. By the end of 2017, that number had gone up to $311 million. By this year, it was announced that their federal tax package, this is tax money, our money that goes into these programs, $468 million package from the government, with the CEO of the company taking a salary of $1.5 million in tax money, 3 times what the president makes and gives away. So basically, you had a very corrupt organization that was hiding what they did from the government while asking for more and more money for unaccompanied minors. So the unaccompanied minor, right? If I were to sum up an unaccompanied minor in one person, that person would be 16, 17, an indigenous person from Guatemala. There's Spanish was their second language, the majority of them. The majority of them spoke dialects, indigenous dialects. Mam was a very popular one. Quiche was a popular one. Canjobal. There was a bunch of there's something like 24 dialects actually spoken in Guatemala. It's something I didn't know myself. Yeah, didn't know that either. So that was it. This was a person who knew. They told me that they paid their guide about $2,000 to take them to the border. Whoa. And they're instructed on the process. They say, all right, this is what's gonna be. All right, they have their papers. They're meeting. This is their mom, whatever, that lives in this house, and then they have the information to contact them. And they're told, put your head down. 3 months or so, 3 months or less, you'll be at this Southwest Key programs, and then they'll fly you out. So the kids coming, they didn't even know what city they were going to. You ask a kid, he said, "Where are you going?" He said, "New York." New York City, upstate. I'm going to Ohio. Because that was the way that they become so dependent on this system that it existed, this system of reunification, that they knew that they didn't even have to know what city. They'll connect with their person that they're reunifying, and they sent them out there. Now that whether the people think that's a good system or not, that's a separate issue. The issue was that they were making so much money. This CEO last year fired about 1,000 people. The same, and then rehired them the next year, citing market conditions. When Trump got elected, everyone was like, it stopped for a little bit. They stopped coming, and they came back in force. So what happened was, he fired everyone, said, market conditions. How you have market conditions when you're doing a public service? The cops don't take a break when the market takes a dip. Right. But he called market opposite. Exactly. So he did market conditions, fired about 1,000 people, and the same year claimed about a $300,000 to $500,000 bonus. What? The same year, and then hired them back as in temporary positions. These are people who had accrued benefits and this and that. Boom, fired them and then rehired.
Take the benefits for themselves.
Put them on seasonal and keep them.
And there. Basically, all over the benefit of children trying to
detaining children. Yeah, the business was detaining children, and it was done by a person that was cutting corners everywhere he could, so that you can take.
I saw some of the photos. They were sleeping on mats on the floor.
It varies place to place. Some of those weren't even. They really missed one thing that I was a little upset about. Is they really missed the they really dropped the ball on the descriptions of these places because I mean it was comfortable, bro. It was a converted hotel / student housing complex.
Like offices.
Yeah.
So really, your issue is more like the fact that they were profiting off.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if the beds are nice or they.
No, 100%.
Detainment. That's what I'm saying. You should not become in the land of the free. People should not be making $1.5 million a year on the detainment of children. Also, the other thing was they are not. You know what I mean? Come on. The revocation of freedom should not be a multi-million-dollar business.
I agree. I think that's a big problem with the prison industry.
And we're paying for it. That we pay for.
Right.
This is tax dollars. Tax dollars are not gotten any other way than literally garnishing people's wages.
Right.
And making them pay a certain amount.
Right.
So we're forced into paying for this. And at the same time, I was urged to speak out. I realized the value in speaking out when a week before Senator Merkel from Oregon showed up at one of these facilities in Texas.
What?
And they called the cops on him, a federal legislator. So you think of the gall, you think of in Jewish we say chutzpah, right? This company has just received $468 million taxpayer dollars. Yet when a federal representative, a federal lawmaker who represents the people comes to ask about what's happening in this place that we pay for, and this is our representative, they call the cops on him. So they basically are taking all this money and doing something. These kids, it costs about $770 a day for each one of these kids to be detained.
Whoa.
So they end up spending, most of the kids are here because they want to basically make enough money to buy a farm in their homeland, whether it's Guatemala or Honduras or El Salvador. They're mostly coming from they're coming from farming communities where these kids have worked since they were 12. They grew up on farms. They want to make enough money to which is between $7,000 to $12,000. I did a lot of interviews while I was there to understand these things, and they're there to do that and then go back. In the process of detaining them, they spend a lot more than that, and then they just dump them on a public school, in God knows wherever in the country. So it was the idea of detainment as the solution to immigration is entirely whacked and is actually what's messing it up. The detainment centers have no incentive to shorten their stays or to...
I think it's opposite.
Yeah, and that's what happened at the zero tolerance policy. So this already the background, right? This was already a corrupt organization. So they were, but that was under the guise of the unaccompanied minor program. So these kids all came by themselves, and they knew that if they kept their head down for 2 months, obviously they're rambunctious, they're teenagers, but most of the kids that came, they knew the drill. They knew that if they just keep their mouth shut, they'll be on a plane, soon enough on a plane, to their parents or whoever they were seeing. Now, when the zero tolerance policy law, when it was not a law, there was a change in enforcement. When the zero tolerance policy for enforcement changed, they basically started separating families, sending the mom one place or the dad one place. It could be in New York, it could be in Texas, it could be in Florida, and sending the kid to another place with no plan. No plan. So we started getting, at first there were about between less than 5 kids under 12, and then by the time I left there, I'd gone up to 70 kids under 12. Wow. And these were not kids that had crossed by themselves and knew what they were getting into. It was a child that was literally ripped from their parent at the border, and then said, "All right, it was a bunch of like lies that they would say, you know, your dad's getting in this car, you're getting in this car with us, and we'll be fine."
It was just a front?
Well, that was the idea. It was a deterrent to illegal immigration by separating families.
That's crazy.
What is that? These are people escaping hell. It's Mad Max over there.
That's just like adding insult to injury in my
opinion. Well, now what I was trying to make the point was, all right, that there's nothing more short-sighted than that. You literally don't understand how extremists work. If you have, right now, the majority of people that are involved in the drug trade are in for monetary reasons. They're in because it makes money to join these gangs.
Right.
when you do something like that, like orphan a child at the border and lie to them and then keep them in detainment for weeks without telling, they had no idea. They had no idea where the parents were. There was no one agency. I had this confirmed by members of the Brazilian government. There was no one agency that had all the information for all the people.
Right. How could they?
Yeah, it was.
It's completely impractical.
Well, they didn't want to even admit that this was happening. The day that I had my first major television interview, which was MSNBC All In with Chris Hayes, the Secretary of State tweeted that there's no such thing as family separations, period. Thank God I got them. Eight days later, they signed an executive order calling for an end to it. After 2,000 kids had been separated. And to this day, there's still about 500. They're still not all reunified. Yeah. It was a big mess, but basically there was this whole idea. So what I'm saying, so you have people that are involved in these criminal operations for monetary reasons. The more you create, the more the U.S. fights the people that are trying to flee this, the more they're creating people that are now inspired for ideological reasons. Because if you're taken from your mom and put in a detainment for a year, you now not only are desperate for money, you also hate America.
Facts.
And now, what happened in Colombia? The Cali cartel. You ever heard of them? There were two cartels in the era of Pablo Escobar. The Cali cartel, who was the rival to Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel. They were both in it for money. Both of them worked with what was called the FARC, Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias Colombianas, and it's a rebel group. It's the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, and they are an ideological organization. They survived with their political agenda. By doing things for the cartels. They got involved in drug trafficking. Now, you never heard of both of those cartels anymore because they were wiped out. But the FARC ideologues, and not monetarily based, now control all of the cocaine production in Colombia, which is at record numbers. Is at numbers higher than it was since even in the times of Pablo Escobar. The highest it's ever been.
Damn.
And FARC, these ideologues, are actually part of the government. Wow. Coincidence. So basically,
this is destabilizing everything, like from the ground up.
Stabilizing cocaine exportation. Unfortunately, destabilizing us. Right. We're in a country where drug overdose is the number one cause of injury-related death. People are dying here.
Shouts out my pops.
Yeah, everyone's dying from drugs here. Everyone in the high. There's nothing kills more Americans than drugs. Nothing. And so, prescription drugs.
Right.
But it kills in the same. It's in the same. They're tied. It's a mix.
No, 100%.
Half legal, half illegal. So FARC basically stayed in the game. They outlasted these cartels that were in it for the money. The FARC are revolutionaries. They have a political ideology. They're also sponsored by Iran, so they have a semi-state. They're sponsored by Venezuela, which is sponsored by Iran. Also, they deal in black market oil, but you ain't hear that shit from me. But yeah, so that's like a thing. I mean, the more we create, the more we try to go to war against the people that are trying to escape. We're gonna fight them later on. If we don't accept them now,
you're just creating another armada to fight in the future.
What happened with MS-13? It's what happened with MS-13.
100%.
They don't look like they're from Central America. They look like they're from South Central LA, and that's because we failed to integrate them, and then we just sent them back after they already criminalized.
Well, that's just like a lot to unpack right there, and we're gonna have to take a break in just a second.
Welcome to my world.
Right. But before we take that break, and we're gonna play a little clip of you on MSNBC so people can see you speak on the news, which is pretty crazy for me at least.
15 pages on Google if you're into it.
That's crazy.
A lot of me to see on there. I actually just did an interview with the newspaper in Japan, which has the largest circulation in the world.
Oh, you did end up doing that?
I did. They called. Yeah, they pushed it off. They did it over the phone. They were gonna do it over in person, but they were like, "Oh, we couldn't get in touch with
In person would have
migrants." They said, and they couldn't get an interview with Southwest Key. And I said, "Listen, 16 state representatives couldn't get a meeting with Southwest Key in 3 months." So, but no, 14 million per circulation. So I got to have a really good conversation. And so, if anyone speaks Japanese, bro, it's gonna be coming out soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll repost it too. So, so before we take this break, I just wanted to ask, like, all of that being said, and there's obviously so much we could go in deeper to unpack, but I feel like the overall message is that, when you destabilize families, you cause more problems in the long term, is what you're saying.
Well, it's important. My main point is integrate. We need to work on integrating migrants. People, there's no secret. Things have gotten so bad in these countries where our democracy is at a crossroads. Are we gonna go to war with everyone else that's poor and brown, or are we gonna learn to integrate people into our economy as we've always
my question would be, like, what do you think the ideal? What do you think our best scenario is, like, as a country? Or
it's happening. Thank God it's happening.
Like, I mean, do you think the solution is increasing?
We're gonna take that break.
What's that? We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it. But I want to get this before we get out of here.
Sure. No, so the main point is,
increasing immigration, or
no, we can't increase it. Humans migrate.
See that.
Humans migrate. That's a pattern of human history
for sure,
for thousands of years. Of course. We're experiencing based on, I mean, to think of these countries as detached as Guatemala. I myself am born in the 80s. People forget what the war on drugs meant. People forget what the Cold War meant in these countries. The CIA has been assisting cocaine transport throughout
Google CIA list of atrocities. There you go, date by date, all types of wild stuff.
The U.S. has has had a very intimate relationship with many countries in Central America,
100%.
And it's very much a part of the instability that has caused these migratory patterns. So my thing was the U.S. has always stood. I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish and Brazilian, Jewish and black, whatever you want to say. I hold 2 passports, America and Brazil. So deal with that as you wish. I'm mixed as hell. But my family came in through Ellis Island. They were processed. Boom. They became very good. My sister is a PhD from Ivy League school, Penn. My grandfather was a professor at Stanford, and we do good work in this country because this country is a place where, man, come here, work, be peaceful, interact with people, and at least you won't get killed in your country like you were. And so people really forgot, like, all of a sudden, that's not the case. All of a sudden, no, there's no space. I mean, I don't know. U.S. is huge. Come on, there's no space.
For sure.
We forgot how to build things. So
what do we take, $1 million annually?
Well, my thing is people are going to come. People are going to come one way or the other. Either we're going to fight them, and if we fight them, they're going to join. They're going to swell the ranks of a narco entity that we already have to fight. And they're going to become, we can fight them, but war only leads to more war, and leads to more war. It's perpetual. I don't think Americans want us, and at the point that we start wars with every narco state in South America, and we
just
fight
surrounded.
You want to join a draft? Do you want your kids to be drafted into the military to kill people
to fight our
in Central
neighbors?
America?
Hell no.
Right.
No, I don't think anyone wants that.
Hell no.
But this is kind of talk when it's like, we'll fight them and we'll show them a lesson. The more people you show a lesson, this radical Islam is a threat to our civilization. Granted, it's something that we need to say. It's a hard thing that we have to realize. They want to kill us. They want to destroy our whole way of life.
And something like 25% of Muslims are radicalized.
Even if you have 1 in 1,000,
that's too many.
That's a lot.
25% is really high.
That's one person that's willing to stab your children in their sleep and project it or cut a head on. So, whatever.
It takes one to really mess stuff up.
But however, the method of fighting them they've only got. I mean, we've been fighting a war with radical Islam for how long?
Probably like 50, 100 years. I don't even know.
Well, we'll say post 2001 is when.
I mean, arguably, you could take it back to George Sr., though,
Sure, but we took it. That was Saddam Hussein. That was a little more complicated. But we basically put out a war on radical Islam after 9/11. right? The onset of Al Qaeda, that's the general.
No, for the war on terror, 100%.
The war on terror began at that
like the
point.
war on drugs, or
but it hasn't decreased the amount. It's only created super terrorists, essentially. Islamic State was making something like $1 million a day just on the oil fields that they had seized in Iraq and Syria. So basically, unless we're willing to continue to send our children out to die or to kill, and then have to come back and kill themselves, which is what's been happening, unfortunately, with the majority of our veterans. We have to realize, we have to find peaceful means of accommodating these migration patterns. We have enough space. We have enough room in the economy to build. My whole thing was, I haven't really put this idea out too much out here because I've been on very mainstream channels, but the fact is, we in this country are at the edge of a green explosion. Oh my goodness! You put CBD on anything, take it anytime, anything you got problems. Medical marijuana is making billions of dollars throughout the country.
I actually really agree with that.
And these kids that are coming have agricultural experience. Why would we fight them when they could help us in our grow operations? And the thing is, these people, migrants and people from a lot of these countries of origin, they've been kind of they've been exploited in the agricultural industry because the profit margins are so low. You don't really get that much money from tomatoes or this and that. So it's hard to pay people.
Straight up, when a pound of tomatoes is $3 and a pound of herb is $4,000,
exactly.
It's kind of like for the same field, it's hard to justify.
So what I was thinking,
it's just math at a certain point.
Very easy example is if they become parts of these grow operations.
Interesting. So you think that'd be a way to mass integrate?
Just on a simple scale. They already have the skills.
That's a very practical answer. That's probably the most practical answer I've ever heard someone give.
Sure, they come here. They want to work. They want $7,000 to $12,000 so they could go home and build their farm and be self-sufficient forever.
Which is the American dream, right? I mean,
sure,
in a sense, you know,
sure.
To be self-sufficient.
No, and no one wants to be a stranger in a strange land.
Straight up.
It's the history of the Jews. We're thankful to have gotten our country Israel, but that's the thing. We if these avenues are opened and we're looking at ways of cooperating with them,
right,
and utilizing them as assets, we won't have to fight them. And instead of sending having our children be drafted or conscripted into an army to fight these wars, our kids are doing business deals, and we're making more money, and more money makes more money, and people grow. People don't fight when they're making money. People don't fight.
I think it was you. We were hanging out one time, and you said something like, the only time we're going to end the military-industrial complex is when creative things or when market activity is making more money than the industrial complex.
You're trying to tease out some of my ideas.
I understand. I think that was...
It's based on a famous quote. I think it was from Martin Luther King.
It sounds to me like that's what you're saying in a way, is rather than stoke the flames of the fire, let's integrate them in a business.
Sure. Well, war is the most profitable enterprise.
Right.
At this time, at this juncture in history.
Right.
So
it always has been historically.
Exactly. So it was famously said, we won't see peace until peace is more profitable than war.
Straight up.
So with the end of Prohibition coming,
let's get that peaceful music pumping.
Exactly. Well, that's it. With the end of Prohibition coming, we have an opportunity for people to make billions, people to make thousands. I did
to help heal people.
We did
as well.
Exactly, thousands of dollars on a product that. Imagine if the cartels were dealing in life-saving medicine. The impact that we'd have. What would our society look like?
Straight up.
People would be living and not dying, bro. Man, take a ride through Middle America, bro. See what that's like. I don't even know you watch those shows on Netflix where they show like these like corn towns where people are on meth. Crazy, bro. Just walking, and it's like everyone. Some places in Ohio and West Virginia, people are getting overdosing on opioids multiple times a day.
They go to the hospital, get done, come back and do it again.
They come back and people go, just leave them. Leave them on the ground. They're killing us. This person is stealing from them every day, and then doing drugs till they almost die, and again and again and again and again. Because people have we've basically given up on growing our economy. We're over here trying to not let anyone in and shut the doors and we hate these people and that. I don't think we should have open borders. Come on, bro. I live an hour away from the border, like with no guns in my own. Actually, if you're listening, it's like a hell of guns in my house. Don't try to mess with me, boy.
I feel what you're saying, though. And I think most, even classically, most people have never been full open borders. Most people agree on that. I feel like
it's just a matter
it's about of a healthy way of doing it.
You have to look at things long term.
Straight up.
Because they're going to keep coming.
Straight up.
Venezuela's not getting any better. I promise you. Venezuela will never get better.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to take a little break right here. We're going to get into one of your biggest interviews on YouTube right now that I was able to find, which is the MSNBC interview. So,
the ones in Brazil were huge, though.
Yeah, see, I need to find them all. I'm trying to find them more. Somebody, if y'all see any more of these links, please send them to me. I'm
How long were you up there for?
Collage.
Well,
Anyways, so we're going to take a break. We're going to get into that video, and then we'll be back with the rest of the interview. All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch this CNN video.
We have heard the cries of the children and seen the images from inside the detention centers at the border where children are being separated from their parents. Does this amount to child abuse? The White House says no.
We have high standards. We give them meals. We give them education. We give them medical care. There's videos. There's TVs. I visited the detention centers myself.
It's weird.
That would be my answer to that question.
Joining us now, Dr. Colleen Kraft, the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and Antar Davidson, a former shelter employee turned whistleblower. Dr. Kraft, I want to start with you. You heard the response from the Secretary of Homeland Security on the question of whether this is child abuse. What did you make of her answer, and what's your view?
I think that one has to understand what's foundational in building child health. And that is the relationship with a nurturing adult, with a caring parent.
So wild to see you with the Super
and
logo
apart from that, you can have the most beautiful surroundings and food and water and shelter and games. But if you don't have a parent, if you don't have that adult who cares for that child, you're taking away what's foundational and what's most important to that child's health. And so taking a child away from a parent is child abuse.
You have visited the border. You have been to these shelters. What is the long-term impact of this separation on a child? And we've heard accounts of them being anywhere from 6 months old to 11.
So particularly for very young children, the body has its own stress response where you see increases in cortisol and epinephrine and norepinephrine, the fight or flight hormones. And
that's like the
in the
intake place where
presence
they
of an
come
adult
right off
who
the
can
border
help
and then they
to
take them
buffer
to
those
one of the
hormones,
satellite
you have a
facilities.
child who can get upset but then can be calmed down, whose needs can be met, and they can become resilient. When that buffer is taken away, when you no longer have that parent to calm or console, then you have a situation that's called toxic stress. And toxic stress is prolonged exposure to these fight or flight hormones, and it actually disrupts the architecture of the brain in these children as they're developing. So you have long-term damage in their social emotional bonding, in their speech, in their language, their ability to learn, and eventually it becomes a risk factor for chronic health conditions.
Antar, you worked in a shelter in Tucson until last week. You quit. Why?
Hey, Tucson.
Well, officially, I felt that the direction the organization was taking was ultimately one that was very damaging to the children, especially considering the fact that these kids are being placed directly into public schools upon reunification. It's easy for a person on an official visit being shown by the organization itself to determine that the facility is nice. It's a different thing to basically work there day in and day out. You can't determine the widespread treatment. You have so many interactions, so many facilities, so many employees that on one visit to unequivocally say that everything is fine is quite a stretch.
What did you see from these children? What was their behavior like after being in these shelters, Antar?
Well, prior to the zero tolerance policy, the kids were a lot better. It was a lot better behaved. The kids that came mostly were prepared for the journey. They came knowing prior that they would spend some time in the shelter and then they would ultimately be reunified. So for that reason, they were much more calm. As
in the past 6 weeks, however, the kids were not those kids. It was not the same population. There began to show up kids that did not have being in the shelter in mind. They didn't know what was happening. They were kids who had just been ripped from their parents. And so for that reason, we're extremely distressed and showing a lot of traumatized behavior, symptoms of trauma.
I want to play what Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen said about respecting the workers at the border, the people interacting with these children. Let's listen.
We're interacting with them on a
We
daily
take
basis.
allegations of mistreatment seriously, and I want to stress this point. We investigate, we hold those accountable when and if it should occur. We have some of the highest detention standards in the country. Claiming these children and their parents are treated inhumanely is not true and completely disrespects the hardworking men and women at the Office of Refugee Resettlement.
So you can see what she's trying to do there, Dr. Kraft. She's trying to suggest that the people questioning this policy are pointing the finger at the men and women who are working at the border there. But it's your contention, Dr. Kraft, that even if these are the best caregivers in the world, it won't make up for the separation from the parent.
That's absolutely right. And in the shelter that I visited,
surprised that's a disputed point.
the staff and the workers
Seems
were
very
actually very
strange to me.
kind people.
Like, oh no, it'll be
They
fine.
were not allowed to hold and console these young children,
strange.
but they really tried to give them toys and crayons, and they were as
She
kind
literally
as
said
they could
crayons.
possibly be.
That's wild.
That's still no substitute for having a parent, because
Straight up.
particularly these very young children who are not quite verbal yet can't express what's going on there, and the person that they need the most is their mother or father, that person that they've known all along who's been able to console and comfort them.
2,000 kids who can't be held by a parent or anyone else right now, separated from their families. It could all stop with a phone call from the president. Dr. Colleen Kraft, Antar Davidson, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have
Guys, thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, we back. We just watched Antar do a little interview on CNN. That video got 112,000 views. That's pretty crazy. And there's another interview that got, I think, 250,000 views on YouTube. It's pretty insane.
Jim Jeffrey Show, Comedy Central.
Yeah. It's crazy. He's one of my favorite comedians. When I saw that, it blew my mind.
Dude,
man.
interesting story about that, dude. I felt, you see the show Black Mirrors?
Yeah.
You see
I
the
love that
one,
show.
like,
Kinda
15
hate that show, but I
million
love it.
credits where the guy, like, does that thing where he, like...
That's literally my favorite episode.
Dude, so they flew me out after this, so I was, like, 2 weeks straight, crazy, just, like, interviews, and I'm like, look what's happening to the kids at the border. Then they fly me out to, I get on the Jim Jeffrey Show, they fly me out to, I'm in Hollywood, bro, at the W Hotel, dude, they got me a room in the W, and I'm like, feeling straight up like the final scene of that show where he talks all crazy about society and this and
With
that.
the knife or
and
with
then
the glass shard?
places it down and like walks into
With the cup of juice in the window.
he's, like,
Yeah.
into the luxurious world, and I'm like, dang, dude, like, it's crazy, dude. And it was like the BET Awards weekend, dude. I'm like there, like at
That's
the W
wild.
in Hollywood. It was crazy, dude.
So I mean that's a pretty good example of part of the answer to this question. But what was the aftermath of this? I mean, like what happened because of all of this?
Well, the first story was in LA Times. I was just like looking at some of the things people said. One guy was like, "Was it because this happened, or was it this?" And he showed like a story that my mom wrote 4 years ago. My mom is a journalist. So my mom actually has shut down youth prisons. She did a whole thing where she investigated some of the worst juvenile justice prisons in the country and eventually got some of them shut down in California and kind of publicized a lot. So, I mean, sure, I have a pedigree in this. My mom gave me the number of Molly Hennessy Fisk from the LA Times who put it on, but she didn't do those. And you think my mom got time to do all the stuff that I did? Come on, bro. Like, an elaborate plot that I knew that this was going to go viral.
No, for sure. It's nothing's that
it was
orchestrated.
ridiculous.
So they're trying to call Illuminati
people
on
were,
it?
yeah, come on. Because my mom, you know what I mean? My bad. I've been.
Yo, well, if you're plugged into the Illuminati, can you hook me up? That's all I'm saying. It's like we're sitting together.
Takes
and
time.
I don't. There you go.
Time. But nah, I mean,
so-
my thing was like, yo, like, did anyone ever like blame Steph Curry's dad? Like, be like, oh man, Steph Curry got all those shots because of his dad. And sure, maybe he's got it in his genes, but come on, his dad didn't make a single one of those points. His dad did not win a single championship.
Straight up.
It was all me. My mom helped me. Sure, thanks, mom. I love you. But yeah, this was all me. I did too. So basically, what was the aftermath? After the LA Times article, bro, from 6:30 in the morning until all night, I did interviews in almost every country in the world. I speak 4 languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Hebrew. So I was doing interviews in Israel. I did interviews in Spanish. I did a ton of interviews in Brazil because the focal point of the story was an episode in which I was told to separate these kids. They mistakenly said that I didn't say that I couldn't. I was allowed to hug them. It's awkward to do so, but there was no policy that I couldn't hug. There was a policy that they couldn't touch, the kids couldn't touch each other, and I was being told to tell these kids on the night that the day after they had been separated from their mom at the border, a 16-year-old boy, a 10-year-old girl, and an 8-year-old boy, they're all brothers. I was told to remind them. They were told they were going to be separated now into different rooms. And so they hugged on each other. They grabbed each other and said, please don't separate us. Please don't separate us. So they wanted me to translate to the kids. They wanted me to translate to these kids that there's a no-touch policy in the facility and that they're not allowed to hug each other. And they thought that it was very important that I come over, and they called me on the radio and they said, Antar, diles que no pueden abrazar. You need to come over here and you need to come and tell them that they can't hug. They're not allowed to hug. And so I was like, I'm not really going to do that, but I'm on my way to see what the situation is and help translate. And I got there somehow before the shift leader did. And so they were like, she comes up, so I'm like, bro, you gotta be strong, bro. Like, man, it was like the 2 brother and sister, they're crying, and they had their arms around him, and they were like, please don't take us away, like, don't separate us, like. And the brother's like, he's trying not to cry. He's a 16-year-old boy, like, they don't cry just like that, you know what I mean? So he's like trying, like, people are watching them, and they're like trying not to cry, and he's like crying, but tears are streaming down his face. And I'm like, bro, you gotta be strong. He's like, bro, how am I gonna be strong? How? He says. He looks at me, tears streaming down, like, what? Oh, where's my mom? I don't know where my mom is. I don't know I don't know where we are. I don't know what's happening. What am I supposed to tell look at my brother and sister, like, what am I supposed to say? And then the shift leader, bro, this girl, oh my God, she got hers. She came up to me and she goes, diles que no pueden abrazar. Tell them that they can't hug. And they don't believe me, they can ask the kids, or they could just look on the camera. It's pretty obvious. I was right in front of the camera. I know exactly where I was standing. Was in front of the camera. So they really try to call me a liar. They could actually go to the cameras, but they don't want to go to the cameers because then they'll have to show what actually happens in these places.
Classic.
Yeah,
for sure.
So she basically like came up, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually not gonna do that. As my famous line, I said, as a human being, I can't do that. And I told her, I'm not going to tell these kids that they can't hug right now. You can do it. And she was like, I'm going to tell the supervisor on you. I was like, please do. And she went right over to them, and she's like, you can't, no pueden abrazar. But like speaking to them in Spanish and English, and these kids speak Portuguese, bro. I was like, are you serious? How are you, I like, and then getting mad, and then I was like, just leave.
That's like getting mad at a dog for not understanding calculus. It's
you know what I'm saying? No, and I'll tell you though, you guys how the thing turned out.
That's crazy.
Dude, I saw them. I was at the Tiki Hut with my man, with some homies, like some big homies, like that were looking mad tough. And I was like just sitting with like me. It's like some big boys, bro. And her and the other shift leader walked by, and they saw me, and they turned white, bro. And they immediately like went over to all their friends, which were other workers from Southwest Key, and they ran, bro. They were out in like 5 minutes, bro. They just left hella quick. But nah, bro, they didn't think, they wanted to squelch me and treat me bad. Like, bro, I brought the whole world on these boobs, bro. The whole world knows Southwest Key. What's his name? Samuel Jackson, bro, posted in the time, like, he posted a infographic on the CEO of Southwest Key and talks about how it's selling his soul and stuff. So, they definitely got what was coming to them. The whole world crazy. Is on them, and we did a whole thing. I mean, I briefed, including my mother-in-law as a state rep, soon to be mother-in-law. I briefed a group of 16 state legislators on what Southwest Key is doing. And they went in, 16 of them. One of them wrote an article in Newsweek about, he's like, yeah, the beds are nice, but the private prison model is horrible. This guy's making $1.5 million a year in tax money off of the detainment of children. That's not a lie. I'm not making that up. That's the focal point of all my story, bro. We can't have that.
Straight up. No, I'm so against the for-profit prison system in general, but specifically, like, the idea that when you bring kids into it, it's just, it's honestly, as much as it's a heartbreaking story, it's really exciting to me to see it, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show to talk about this, to a lot of the younger people who might follow us and see this, because, like, I feel like this is an issue that everyone can unify behind on the right and the left and agree that this is messed up and shouldn't be happening.
Bro. The president of Iran and the Israeli public both spoke out in unison against this. Bro, I was on the news in Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, England. I missed the one in Scotland. Unfortunately, I was on in Holland. I was on in Colombia. I was on in Brazil so many times. I was all over the U.S. Bro, I was on Fox. I was on a Fox affiliated station. Bro, I had not one person say a single negative thing to me. People were it really struck a very deep chord, because the fact of the matter is, all of the civilization, throughout our civilization now, industrialized democracies are basically their eggs have come home to roost. The societies that have been colonized and kept in poverty, they now have access to information. Yep. And they can see exactly what they don't have, and they're coming. So, I mean, we have to figure out, are we gonna basically set our kids up to be drafted into the army to start killing people? Or are they gonna be taught to build a more inclusive and an expansive economy? Why don't we want to grow our economy? Why does the response have to be, oh, you want open borders? Instead of, dang, we could use more workers in this economy. We could expand the growth and the capacity of what we're able to do. But instead, bro, people don't have answers. So when they don't have answers, I think
it's just scary for a lot of people when, people are already worried about unemployment and people are already so worried about theirs,
So what are they worried about? So what, if you were really worried about theirs, you wouldn't be worried about other people. Come on, bro. You're telling me that you're so worried about your spot that a 17-year-old indigenous kid from Guatemala who speaks Spanish as a second language is gonna take everything you got? Come on, bro. You need to do better.
I feel like
I heard that.
You need to do better, bro.
I heard that.
Damn. How? I mean, I'm just thinking now, like,
straight up, though.
How insecure are we?
We're insecure.
Oh my God! This kid that can't read, he's gonna take my family. Come on, bro. Like this kid that you can hold his head like this and he'll punch you like this. You know what I mean? People are ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's a strong point.
People I think it's more the media giving that image to them. They're too.
Bro, it was people. It was the government. That didn't. The government did it. You saw what she's talking about, and this and that, and they were so self-assured. They didn't look that self-assured when they were sitting down writing that executive order, because the entire. What was I say? If you're young, bro, I'll tell you exactly how this whole 2 weeks happened. All right, I was in this news, that news. They were driving me back and forth to the broadcast station. I had black Cadillacs in my house waiting for me all the time. Mr. Revolving. It would be like 3 camera crews going in and out, bro. And I basically, it was just me, bro. I had barely any money, and it just was on my phone like this, bro. Responding, yeah, sure, sounds good. Yeah, let's do it. Call me up. Yo, what's good? Call. It was me, bro. It was not. And the president, bro, you could look at the footage and watch him sign the executive order ending family separations. Niggas looking dumb as hell. But basically, they sat down. The world responded, bro. In Canada, in Mexico, England, BBC.
So you think that you believe that like the actions that took place and the media attention that it garnered, like,
of course, she
was pivotal in executive orders?
She wanted to say that there was nothing happened. She famously tweeted the Secretary of State. She's definitely not gonna get reelected now, I promise you. Listen, being her is her own punishment. So I wish no ill on her, because anyone who's talking like that and has done what she's done, that feeling that you have to hit when it's just you and that pillow and you gotta go to sleep, you can't hide from that. So I'm sure. Best of luck to her. I sleep like a baby. I sleep like a baby next to my baby who's having my baby. So I'm happy as hell. But that was the thing, bro. That was a person, bro. Me being an active citizen, speaking up against what I see, bro. And I'm a bit more savvy than your average bear, and I had a connection, but it was an email. Anyone could send an email. Anyone. You know what I mean? You could contact.
So what was the original, the first catalyst that triggered this whole slew of interviews and
the first was I called Molly Hennessy Fisk from the Los Angeles Times. My mom gave me her number, and I gave her a call, and I said, "Yo, I'm Antar Davidson. I got a story to tell." We spent 2 days like really fleshing it out. She wrote a good article, and now she's a tremendous journalist, and I. Thank God I've had the opportunity to meet.
So it was just placing your story in front of the right person, and
that was not just. It was a story that people wanted. People were wondering what was happening in Southwest Key programs. It's a huge organization, a disgusting organization. The sleazebag Juan Sanchez is a scumbag, the scumbag of America, and worse. I'll tell you, worse than guys in Core Civic or worse than guys in Geo Group, worse than those people, and I'll tell you why. Because they may have a whole rhetoric of nationalism and this and that, but Juan Sanchez tells us the organization of the mission statement of the organization is that they're making children's dreams come true.
They're selling it like it's Disneyland.
Like he's doing a service to the community.
No, I agree. That's disgusting.
You're giving people shitty jobs that are high stress, right? With a straight face as supervisor at that job, this lady who had done nothing. This supervisor who had done nothing but be rude to me despite having a very successful program. She asked me legitimately if I'd be willing to work 6 days a week for the next foreseeable future. Like, but you know what I mean? If I could just keep coming into work and just come an extra day a week, like hella casual, like yeah, I was like, no, I'm not gonna work. What do you mean? Like, it's definitely didn't help anyone. You know what I mean? What they were doing. So again, they can say whatever they want, but again, their existence is their own punishment, because it's just them when they hit that pillow and they have to go to sleep or not.
For
but
sure.
You can't lie to your soul. So that's the unfortunate thing, people really were scared, man. That was the ultimate thing. Is like all these people that are working there, like, man, they just want to keep their job. They're so scared of not getting another $15 an hour job that they're willing to do this, and they thought that I was like, people were talking bad on me and speaking down on me, and like,
man, you're messing up all
they were
the
mad. Yeah, I'm like, man, you can't. I mean, you know what I mean? Fine, that's good for them. We'll see how history looks at them. I mean, I'm not really. Like I said,
that's the classic Gestapo logic. Like,
sir, I'm just doing my job. I can't get a job. I mean, they're not killing people yet, but.
Well, where's the line?
It's detainment, though. I'm saying, come on.
It's not that far.
You
detaining children and not
guard.
letting them hug, that's pretty ideologically close.
That's why I realized, that's why I pretty much left it. I was like, yo, I can't do this. I'm like, when she told me that, she was like, tell them they can't hug, I was like, yo, I can't be here. I'm not gonna be in a place. And one guy was like loving it. This dude was insane, bro. Right before this.
That's what's scary, is it promotes behavior like that. That's what's scary.
That's what they were doing in the job. Those are the people that were getting promoted. Were the ones that were like,
of course, that's the nature of
about some gangster shit. And I was like, you're just flexing on these like indigenous kids. In the 80s, they killed 200,000 Ishil Indians, bro. These are like the grandchildren of a genocide that has not really stopped. It just turned into a gang war that is fought block to block, and this guy says he's. So this is the thing. This is why he was a particular type of evil. He says, I'm brown, Latino. He had the nerve to say on NPR. He said, they don't want me to get this salary because I'm brown. He says, that's why. Because he's brown, so they're complaining that he makes a salary of $1.5 million. Well, I'm brown too, and you're disgusting.
Straight up.
Come on, bro. I'm Latino too, bro.
I don't know why everything has to be about race. Like,
that's what they hide behind. Yeah, they hide behind it.
I feel that completely.
No, it's the white man holding me down. That's what you said, El Trumpo. El Trumpo is taking us. How could I steal if I'm a person of color? Do you know what your people did to my people? I'm giving them jobs. I'm giving them shelter. No, you're not. You're charging the government $770.
And that's what's crazy. So it's everyone.
And
it doesn't matter what color you are. Even if you're illegal or otherwise, you're still paying those taxes. Because when you buy anything at the store, you're paying those taxes. So even the illegal immigrants are funding this, which makes it crazy.
Like you're buying things, you're paying taxes.
Right. No,
so
people don't understand
putting money in this man's pocket.
Right.
To make these kids' dreams come true. He spends. Listen. This is how perverted it is.
Fucked up.
This is how perverted it is. They need
so crazy. You have to laugh.
$12,000. With $7,000 to $12,000, that's the reason that caused them to walk. Some of them walk in the desert for 28 days in the desert, bro. Do you know what that's like? No.
I think our generation could learn like a drip of motivation from like their
But for $7,000 to $12,000, bro, that's how much they come. And you want to know what's even more sad?
How many people get a job at McDonald's for that?
Reunited. That means that their mom or dad is taking them 2 generations to come up with $7,000 or $12,000 extra dollars, bro. And that's why they're here. Do you know what happens? Juan Sanchez charges that much for each of them. Boom. In confinement, they end up paying almost. They get charged. The government, the United States government, is charged $770 a day. These are kids who make $7 a day. In a day, working 8 hours, picking coffee or whatever.
They work at those detention centers?
No, they work in their homes.
Oh,
in their home countries.
Okay.
They're
I got
used to making
I was
$7
like,
a
what?
day. Sorry, yeah.
No, you're good.
I'll be like, oh, dang. I started to lose my credibility. They're like, dude, we're
going to have to blow this up the second time.
Exactly. They're whipped. No. But they're coming from a place where they're making $7 a day. Their detainment is costing the government, costing the taxpayer $770 a day. So these kids stay. Let me do a little bit of quick figuring. I'm gonna tell you right now that $700. They say now the average stay is 7 months. 7 times 30. Who the hell knows? Was that 210 days? So 210 times 770.
That's insane.
200, right? 210 times 770. Yeah. It's $161,000.
Yeah.
That might
that's
not
a house.
Be right. I feel like that can't be right, but that's what they said. Yeah, we're spending all this, bro, and then we're sending them.
That's crazy.
A ton of money, and then they're getting sent into public schools broke. And this guy's lined his pockets.
And he's doing a service.
But it's because he's brown, bro. It's because he's Mexican, bro.
And he's building dreams for the
white
kids.
men don't want to see him. The white men don't want to see him fail. Well, again, bro.
That's crazy.
I mean, God bless you, and I think the more he fights what I'm saying, the more I feel like the people will judge, bro. And I'm not going anywhere at all, bro.
Ultimately,
bro. Oh my God, dude.
They stopped the family separation, right?
They stopped it 8 days after.
So does that mean those facilities are just defunct now?
They still have $468 million to run this program. They're not separating the kids they're not separating the families anymore how they were. They stay together. The families stay together now.
Okay. So are they at the detention centers with them?
No, the detention centers are also worse now because now they introduced a thing where they now, for the reunification to happen, they get the fingerprints of the person they're reunifying with. Before they used to do just a criminal check. Then they did an immigration check, and now they're doing the fingerprints of everyone in the household. So there's less reunifications happening, so longer detention, which is all part of their plan because the longer the kids are detained and then they also start clotting up, right? So the less are cycling out, the more are coming. They have to stay, and the facilities get filled, and then they need more facilities and more facilities and more facilities, and that's it, bro. Any person who has a conscience should speak out against Southwest Key. At this point, I tried to be careful with the workers and think, but after the experiences I've had with them and them doubling down on the work that they do, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Straight up.
These kids deserve proper education, especially if they're coming in. They deserve to be open to the community. Tucson has what it takes to really be a model of what it means to build an integrative economy. We already receive a lot of people from a lot of countries, and if we teach them and help them become with us and get money with us, they're not going to want to fight us, because we provide a viable alternative to the things that they're fleeing, which is why they came here in the first place. And so I just feel you can't do that when you're trying to operate under hiding the fact that you are charging for more than you can actually do. So thank God I briefed the leader of a group of 16 state legislators who went in.
So they're still taking action on all of this?
Yeah, it's not done. We're not
of course,
done at all.
everything takes time.
The governor of Arizona has demanded inspections. We're on them. And if they're listening, we coming, bro.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we just won a primary. I'm fresh out the election, bro. I don't always dress this. I mean, I stay fresh, but we just came from the elections. State Rep Pam Powers-Hanley has got the primary. She won the primary for the Democrat spot for state rep. I am assuming my first elected position today as an elected precinct committee person for the Democrat Party in the fighting 75th precinct of Tucson, Arizona. So, yeah, man, I'm just getting started, bro, and I got a position, and thank God now the world knows my name, and I will continue to.
Hell yeah!
I'm doing interviews every.
Hell yeah! Well, we really appreciate you having you on the show, and we're running a little bit low on time, so I had a couple of questions I wanted to get into, but I'm gonna try and get it down to just 2, I think. But before we jump into the last couple questions, I wanted to ask: are you still down to do a little freestyle for us?
You think I'm not?
All right, cool. I got you. So cool. So real quick, before we get into the 5 is Alive, I wanted to ask you one quick question. You've been getting involved in all of these different things, and obviously, like you said, it's just the beginning. I wanted to ask you. You obviously study all of these things pretty in depth, and I'm wondering, who some of your biggest influences are. So I'm gonna ask you this question: if you could pick one person, alive or dead, to like hang out with, chop it up with.
King David, bro. Oh,
hey, such a tight answer.
Time, bro.
And why is that, bro?
I mean, King David is the prototypical gangster, bro. King David built a temple out of gold. He had you know what I mean? King David was basically,
he's a gangster. That's the best way I've heard.
That's it, man. King David was the greatest king, bro. He's the seed of the Messiah. The Messiah comes from David, and
shout out my pops. That's my dad's name too.
I've been really pushing the idea for a long. That was why I built the recording studio out here. Was to push the idea that rap, which is an acronym for the words rhythm and poetry, the first known rap and book of raps was Psalms. King David wrote the Psalms were poems written to the tune of a harp and to music, and cover a lot of themes. So
open your mind real quick.
As such, it's one of the most powerful forms of communication. Wow. So King David and his exploits, that's the ultimate underdog. The you know what I mean?
Say less.
That was my biggest thing. That was my biggest inspiration in this. I decided a lot of people have been confronted with Southwest Key and felt angry about it and didn't know what to say. And Juan Sanchez is a millionaire from our pockets. So people didn't know what to say, but you know what, bro? I walked up. He knows my name now. You know what I mean? They had people protesting. I didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't support this. I didn't promote this, but he had people protesting outside of his house.
That's crazy.
So that's my biggest inspiration is if you got the truth, let
it be known.
Let it out, bro. Let it out.
I believe in that so heavily, man.
Everything is an illusion.
Straight up. So you hear that, guys? If you're gonna take a message from Antar, man, focus up. Speak your truth.
Limitations are illusions. Limitations are illusions.
I like that. Let your soul conquer the limitations.
Just to separate those who can from those who are scared, bro.
Scared to do it.
Well, on that note, we're gonna get right into the 5 is alive and see how scared y'all is. Y'all can handle it.
Never scared like.
Are you ready to get right into it?
Who's freestyling?
You.
I start? Oh, damn.
Oh, it's just you, baby.
Oh, it's just me?
It's just you, baby.
It's you, buddy.
Oh, my God.
It's just you, baby.
Yeah.
I did my freestyle already.
Oh, damn. Dude, you like that.
All right, let's give her a go.
Yeah. Oh, shit's that Mac Miller type.
Yeah. The intro's a little bit long. Yo, shout out Beats by Khan.
Thanks, bro.
This beat right here.
Let me get one more sip of this drink.
Hopefully we'll put a little link in the description right here. Self-Worth is the name of the beat.
Okay.
Hey, you're at the Soul Club. This is the 5 is alive.
Hey, yo, I express my mind. Feeling fine.
Hey.
Don't build a shrine. I'm doing mine. Doing mine. Yeah, I was in Jerusalem with Shine. I was out in Detroit. I'm out in Tucson. Feeling strong. Doesn't my voice. I follow my choice. Yo, follow my voice to the top of the mountains where I'm singing. Light when I'm bringing. Home run I'm swinging. Hit it out the park. Yeah, Antar and I wing it. Improvising, supervising, I supersize. Antar, no criticize. Keep it going, man. I ain't telling lies. I'm telling the truth. Right by the booth. Yo, life is proof. Yeah, do it out, yeah. Telling it. Never been on no felon shit. Yeah, I am, but I ain't telling it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro. Yeah, dragons I'm slaying, bro. Like I'm a knight. Big dog in the fight. Yeah, bringing the light. Antar feeling tight. Freestyle, but watch out when I write. I'm like psych. Yeah, I don't rap though, but I'm not a rapper. I don't rap though.
That was Antar Davidson on the 5 is alive, everybody. Hell yeah. You're not a rapper, but you killed it.
I don't really rap.
Cool, man. All right, well,
oh shit, maybe you want to show them a preview of the video we're working on.
Unfortunately, I was trying to get the preview ready. Unfortunately, I was not able to get the preview ready.
Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas gonna stop it. Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does hunger war higher? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas gonna stop it. Let's see truth in foreign policy. You can't compare a terrorist state to a democracy. When they tell you
it drops.
Shout out to Judah Fire.
Yeah, shouts out to Judah Fire for sure. Soul Productions coming out with that new. But yeah, so I think we're gonna head on out of here. We got something a little bit special right at the end for you guys. But before we get out of here, I want to ask Antar one final question, and that is, what is your message to the people?
Yeah, anything is possible. That's pretty much it, bro. I literally slept on the couch here at Soul Studios with all my stuff in my car like a year ago, bro. Wow. Girl kicked me out, bro. And man, no, I had barely any money, bro. Like just ass out, bro. Nothing. I had nothing, bro. I was over here, nothing, bro. And I just pretty much like believe in myself. And within a year, bro, I've seen miracles, bro. I literally sat, told these kids I would do something. I told them I would help them, and boom, I brought the world on this place. And so I pretty much like I can have no one tell me that, not like you can't do it or this and that. Like, thank God I'm getting married. I'm 6 weeks pregnant. My first daughter's on the way. With my fiance. And same one. She gave me a second chance, and I pretty much brought the world to her to show her what she means to me, and
I'll pull the moon down. I'll give it to you.
That's it. So I mean, really, like, at this point, like, I've witnessed prophecy that I spoke, and the world listened, and I've. It's a little psycho stuff when people aren't even listening at this point. Anyway, but I witnessed miracles, bro. I publicly, people that have seen me a year ago and see me now, bro. Like, I was just with Gabby Giffords. I was just with all the biggest Democrats in Southern Arizona. I got pictures up about to come up, but man, I was in the front lines, bro, of politics now, bro. I went from being homeless to being called a hero all over the world. So just never give up, bro. Just remember that, like, you are who you think you are. You just have to just keep it going to show them that. Show them. You don't lose till you say you lose. I was over here, I could have just cried out or gone home and left and whatever, but bro, I just was like, yo, I'm about to do it, bro. I'm about to be out here, like, you know, and I picked myself up and I kept going and I tried this and I tried that and I tried this and I just keep going, bro. That's life, bro.
Man.
Just keep going and you'll be surprised where you'll get.
So I love that.
Lose till you give up.
You never lose if your goal is to learn. You always win.
Students
no
alike,
matter what happens, you always learn. If you learn, you win. So make that your goal. That's
yes, sir. I love that. Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up. We have something a little bit special to do at the end. First of all, I want to thank you, Antar, for coming out again, and I want to thank you for the people who actually stuck around to the end of this thing.
Yeah.
We got something a little bit bittersweet, a little bit sad. My good buddy Liquid, my co-host, he's this is gonna be his last episode on the Soul Club. Hopefully not ever, but for a little while. You're gonna be moving out to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
man.
in Tucson for a little bit, not forever. Like you said, you know, this is where I'm coming from, and this is where I want to stay. And even though I'm not here, I'm coming back because this is where I belong.
Hell yeah. We still gonna be working on shit.
Hey,
even if
all the time.
Okay. So while we play this out, we're gonna play a double feature of Liquid's music. We've got a music video. Which one was it? It's Don't Know, right? Yeah, that's right. Don't Know, not the other one. So we got Don't Know, the music video, and we're gonna have Shining Bright. It's not a video for that one, but yeah, that's Liquid and myself on that one. And we're gonna play those out for you. And if you guys respect anything that we're doing here, if you respect my boy Liquid, if you fuck with Antar, and if you fuck with Chachi, please follow and sub and check out liquidsmusic.com. Soul Music YouTube channel. We're gonna put some links in the descriptions for all that stuff, so you guys can check out all these content. Antar's channel, all that stuff.
Put my Instagram name on there
music
too.
Is my drug.
Yeah, Real Chachi 520. We'll put that up there at Real Chachi 520.
No, Chachi _ 520.
Chachi _520.
Yeah.
Chachi _ 520.
Yeah.
Do you have an Instagram?
Antar Davidson on Instagram. Yeah, my Instagram is I be working the most on
Just
that.
at Antar Davidson.
Yep. DA son of David.
No space.
Davidson. Yep. At Antar Davidson.
Oh, I like how you squeezed that in there at the last second. And what's your Instagram, bro?
3.
That's right. And then I'm gonna say mine just as I can at. Spell it out. We're gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up anyway. So, anyways, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Soul Club episode 3.
Tucson, T-Town.
See you next time. All right. That's a banger, y'all.
Nice. That was lit. Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
I gotta go home before I start to sleep on the couch.
Heard that, bro.
That's that. Thanks for tuning in to Soul Club. Keep it real.
They exploit who they claim to protect. When the aid comes in, they lay claim to the checks. They got all the guys that ain't built nothing yet, so don't blame the IDF when they come in with the jets. They say we kill children, then they hide behind them while they're firing. Open up the homes and the bombs already wired up. Schools there don't teach peace, they teach war. Hamas built social institutions to reach more. Recruits in the pit of poverty that they keep down. And us serves as a platform where they speak out. Genocide is what they teach now and have been. How can we allow a state to form ruled by madmen who put rifles in the hands of the youth? And if you're LGBTQ, you're getting thrown off a roof. Accused of working with the Jews, we'll get you gunned down in the streets. They turn terror to an industry. They're like the PA, they're just indiscreet. Cause when they speak, it's clear what they seek. The Jewish people are the enemy, moderates. They don't pretend to be Islamo-Nazis, telling the people the lies of the century. 25,000 are men and all the rocks. If they had their hands on nukes like we do, you think they drop it? Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does UNRWA hire them? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas is gonna stop it. Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does UNRWA hire? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas gonna stop it. Let's see truth in foreign policy. You can't compare a terrorist state to a democracy. When they tell you Israel is oppressive, it's hypocrisy. Cause every act of war should be met with reciprocity. It's not an occupation when you just defend your borders. God would stab children in their sleep following orders. Firing mortars indiscriminately at civilians while Hamas leaders tax tunnel traffic and make millions. How many billions spent funding UN operation, which have only worked at drilling lies into a population, all brought up idolizing martyrs. If you say that Hamas is for peace, then you never read their charter. Look at Gush Katif, ended up a non-starter. Hamas rose to power and stay rogue, got shell harder. And did they extend farther? Nope, they built deeper. That's why instead of handshakes, their leaders get heat seekers targeted. After the planes knock on the rooftops to clear the buildings first, to the troops work when the boots drop. Who shot you? Cause Hamas will never win it. Now they're about to feel the wrath of independence. We are not colonizers, we're indigenous. When you will it, there is no dream, and we envisioned it. Yeah. When you will it, there is no dream, and we envisioned it. Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does UNRWA hire them? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas is gonna stop it. Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does UNRWA hire them? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas gonna stop it. Just can't fix all ills with new wrongs. They don't wanna split the land, they want the Jews gone. We're too strong, so they bring the fight to the campus to poison young minds and put a stain on our canvas. How can they ally with the left? It's outlandish. With Sarsour and SJP, I can't stand it. They say free Palestine and don't know what the plan is, while stealing from their own like bandits. And working kids in tunnels with no chances for advancement. They leave them stranded with bombs planted under the carpets and in the closets. They need a pause it. Or watch them texts roll in when the fog hits. Peace through strength with no clauses regardless. Why don't they invest in education and free market? They make them pay triple for starches and tax it. Billions of dollars get donated and nobody tracks it. A true fact is Hamas just wants a Holocaust. They're true fascists who spit acid. Bankrolled by Iran, who trained and outfit their military wing to Izzadin al-Qassam. While the VA keeps the lights on, they keep fighting. And every time they kill a Jew, they get a stipend. Every time they kill a Jew, they get a stipend. Why they digging tunnels under schools? Why they use their children like war tools? How come they gotta kill to make millions? And you know they're in on that tramadol dealing. And why does UNRWA hire them? Tell me why those rockets keep firing. Why do they still aid and still profit? Tell me when Hamas gonna stop me.